afternoon, everyone. Thanks for having me. I've given you a package, but I only intend to talk to 8 slides only. So it's fairly short.
Speed is of the essence.
Yep.
Managed in a managed way.
So just confirming the briefing, really there's 2 things we really want to cover off today. One is about the process, about getting the speed limits implemented, and the other one is the effect on individual schools. Because when I gave the original briefing, which is I think the next slide, we talked very much about the 24 draft rule, and of course that was based on that, and now we've had the new rule come in, which as a result of that there's a few changes. So just recapping, back in 23 the speed management plan was approved, and then in June 24, at the end of June, we finished Part A. We completed the implementation. That was with the 13 schools, the variable speed limits. We had 7 new roads with permanent speed limits, and those new speed limits became enforceable. What we hadn't completed was the 24 to 27, and that was the Part B, and that's implementing 30k speed limits around schools and towns and villages. So that's where we were. And then we had the briefing, and this was really based on the draft speed limits rule, the 24 speed limits rule. So we finished up where we landed on option 5, which was basically focusing on schools, because we had a number of challenges in terms of funding and the new rule, etc. So and that included deferring until 27 to 30 the Paikokariki speed humps in Wellington Road, excluding the road safety platform outside the school, which is still in the previous plan, and it is still in this current plan. So that's the one up by Campbell Park, that's still in there. And we have the Waikanai Beach Village speed humps. They were deferred, the Tohoro Beach speed humps, the pedestrian crossing points, and the Mill Road 30 km/h speed limit extension. Now that one also has to be deferred, because what you have to do is, because 30k's aren't allowed under the new rule, and so you actually have to consult under the new rule to get that extended. So we've pushed that out, and then we'll have another go. And then there were 2 sites that we withdrew from the rule. It was the Waikanai Town Centre and also Raumati South. They were both going to 30 km/h permanent speed limit, and under the new rule that's actually not permitted. And then the key thing is, in our proposal for option 5, that also included the Timuana Road pedestrian refuge east of Nimmo Street West, and that included that in that option 5. Nemo Avenue, sorry. Thank you. Yep.
Is that Mill Road off again?
Yes.
It was going to be 30 kilometres the whole way along, wasn't it?
No, it was just, we were just standing it just to pass the fire station.
Okay.
That was at 30k. So then the new speed limits rule come out. This is the final rule, and the key messages, and it's about 58 pages long. There's a lot to read, so it's quite hard to follow, but these are the key messages. So every road fronting a school has to have a 30k variable speed limit, and we had some in the original proposal where we were going to have 30 km/h permanent speed limit by extending, and they were mainly they were in Otaki and also Raumati South. And then another key thing is consultation is required. So if you do a new speed management plan, then, which was our original proposal, you have to actually reconsult on that plan. You just can't get a plan and say we're going to put all the schools in there, only the schools, package it up and get it certified by the NZTA. So consultations required. However, for 30 km/h variable speed limits in front of schools, we do not need to consult, because we've been told we have to do it. You have no choice. There's a little bit of variability. The funding assistance, in December last year, we were then told there was no money, and then we got told in December there possibly is money. So we now have submitted a funding application for that 1.85 million to get 51% subsidy, and I believe after about the 25th of this month they will look at that and they will tell us if we've been successful. We've applied for as much money as we can get, subsidy as possible. Now, and for us to implement a speed limit, there's two ways of doing it. One is under a speed management plan, which is certified, or they can certify a thing an approach which is called the alternative method, which I'll talk about on the next slide. It's messy. Are you with me? So in terms of the two objectives, what I wanted to clarify today, in terms of process, we were going to submit a new speed management plan. We haven't consulted on that. We haven't put it out to be consulted, so we can't do that. But what we can do is, because we're only doing schools and we don't have to consult, we essentially just have this template, which is a standard NZTA template. We fill it out. We put a covering letter written by the Mayor or signed by the Mayor, and that will go to the NZTA and they will certify that. And then we then at that point can then set a date when those speed limits will come into force. We've also got we've got speed humps outside and raised zebra crossing outside 8 schools, and we've got 30-kilometre variable speed limits around 11 schools. And if you do the maths, 11 and 13 is 24, and we've got 20 schools, and that's because some schools last time we had permanent on one side and variable on the other. So so in terms of consultation, no consultations required under the rule, but we have done some consultation with schools prior to Christmas. We sent them all a letter. We had explained the impact of the new rule on the original proposal and what the new proposal was, and we've heard back from most of them. One school, they said they were a little bit disappointed, but for what they're proposing, I think we might be able to include that in the next plan. And no one's really come back, and I think they've probably at the point, they've said, oh, well, if that's what we're getting, that's better than nothing. And the schools I've spoken to who are getting the speed humps are very happy, because that's going to pull those speeds right down. And then we will do another lot of consultation, which is what we did last time with the residents wherever we were putting a sign up, whether it was an electronic variable or a static. We will consult with them, and what we tried to do is we tried to put them opposite the adjoining boundaries to minimise the visual intrusion. Last time we did 90 signs. We only had one lady who was a little upset, and we managed to resolve the issue with her. So that was a really good result. You wouldn't even have known the signs are gone, and so we're going to repeat that again. So we've got a couple of levels of consultation to do. And then in terms of effects, I've just summarised the effects here. So I'm going to run through these. So Paikokariki, we had a couple of speed humps on Wellington Road, and due to funding, we've deferred those until 27/30, but the raised pedestrian crossing opposite Campbell Park and the footpath connection to Campbell Park is still in. So that's a change from what we had previously. Te Rā Waldorf, we had 2 permanent speed humps last time. After a little bit of feedback from the last briefing, we're now changing that to 1 temporary speed hump. And the Raumati Beach School, we had a raised pedestrian zebra crossing, and the reason it's been removed is the speeds across that crossing were quite low. They're about 30 kilometres an hour. So to spend all that money on a speed hump and not really pull down the speeds too much was probably not a good use of money. And we had a 30-kilometre permanent speed limit, and we've now changed that to a variable. Kappa Kappa Nui School, they just had a 30k variable. We've just extended that slightly. And the Kura in Otaki, we had a raised threshold, which is essentially like the raised safety platform without the zebra markings. We're deciding we're only doing those with zebra markings because it can be confusing. So we're putting speed humps in, which are very clear. You cannot walk across those. And the 30k, we're putting a 30k variable opposite the Kura because we were going to extend the permanent speed limit, down from Mill Road, down past the roundabout, and we're going to make it all permanent. I still think that's the best solution, but we're not allowed to do that. So that will be a variable, and then down into Rapara Road, we're replacing the 30k or the permanent 30k with a variable speed limit. Now I've spoken to the principal there and also at St. Peter Chanel, and they're very happy they're getting the speed humps there because the speeds at both of those schools are high. So while we've changing the speed limits, that will keep the speeds down 24/7. We've got a little bit of consultation to do with both of those communities in terms of the type and the location, and we'll probably do that hopefully next month.
Just a quick question, or we're going to wait?
Yep.
A comment and a quick question. I'm really pleased you did that consultation around the signage. I think that's fantastic. And only to have one person push back is awesome. I've ended up outside my house with a radar on a big pole, and there was no consultation, and it was actually put right dead smack in my viewing lane of the island. And had they moved it, had they had some consultation with me and the neighbour, we could have had it that would have actually suited both of us. It's actually horrendous at the moment. So good work on that. Not so good on those has been discussed. Those stand up radar thingies.
Well, maybe if you email those details, the location, maybe we can get it shifted.
Yeah. Okay.
Yep.
Anyway, that wasn't actually. Just well done on that. I think it's fantastic. The variable speed are they all? How many hours before and after school, and are they all the same, or can you vary them depending on the kura or school or
I
start
think
close times?
from memory we can have them operating. Oh, I can't remember exactly what it is, but we have them roughly operating for about 45 minutes. Sometimes about half an hour before school, and then quarter of an hour after school starts, and then we have something similar at the end of the day. And we try and keep the signs operating at fairly similar time frames as much as possible, but we've got some schools that actually start like half an hour different.
Yep.
So we take that into account. What I didn't say here, but it's probably worth mentioning now that you've raised it, is we did some before and after surveys on the mean speeds before and after school with the variable speed limits, and it's pulled all of the speeds down apart from two sites.
Yep. And
And they're the ones with the big long ones, Waidahu School and Kapiti College, so we're shortening those variable speed zones down.
Nice.
Don't forget Kapiti College is a late start on Thursday.
Yeah. Can you extend it to like? Does the legislation allow you to do it like an hour, or is 45 the Goldilocks?
I think it's longer than 45, but I can't remember exactly what it is, but we can adjust the times.
Yeah.
And you also can, if the school's got an event on, you can actually ring the service centre. We've contacted all of the
Oh,
schools
brilliant.
that have already got them in, and they contact the service centre, and then what we can do is we can set that time up, but we're only supposed to have that operating now like for 10 minutes. That's all we're allowed, but you know, if you've got a sports day, we can actually adjust
You can
those
turn them on,
times.
turn them off. Yeah, I think a variable is very sensible, and I'm pleased that it's been brought in as variable.
And those reductions in speed are statistically significant, so they definitely do work. And we are going to do, when we put the raised platforms in, we're going to do some before and afters as well, so we have actually our own data. This is what the speed was, we've put it in, and this is how much it's pulled it down.
Can you get different contractors than outside the Otago College, because they stuff that's crossing up big time, aren't they?
Oh, we have to go back and redo it. Yeah, but we don't use those guys anymore.
I'd love to know how much that costs.
Not much.
Lawrence?
So this funding that we've applied for,
Yes.
will that be applied to this work, or does it enable us to do work that we've deferred?
It's for the current, the 1.845 million is for the program that we've got at present, and then the 900,000 or so that we're hoping to get will complement that. So it effectively will go up, but what we actually do with that, I'll tell you what my plan is, okay? So I've anticipated it. So
He's got a
Hold on
plan.
there, hold on.
So basically, we're going to try and get everything finished by June next year, okay?
Yep.
So we still have 1 year to go. So what we'll do is we'll see how our budgets are, over or under or whatever. Then I'll write a memo, which will be viewed by Rashia. It'll go to Sean. We'll have a couple of options, and then one of those options, say we're under, we could say, hey, some of those projects that we've deferred to 2730 that are relatively easy to consult on and construct, one option is to bring them forward, and then we will seek a decision.
Yes, and if you remember,
Something like that.
yeah, I think if you recall, we had a 1.5, 1.8. We had an
Yep.
we had an optimistic, and then we had a more realistic number in terms of delivery. So yes, we've got an opportunity, and that was coming from non-subsidised money.
Yep.
So if we get subsidised, there'll be a conversation about yes, allocating that to the work to minimise our costs. If we can do more, but we're still going to be, I think, under pressure in terms of delivery, then we could certainly talk about that. But we're also working in a program where we're $30 million under budget in terms of what we'd proposed to deliver in the first place across all of our capital work. So if we get more money, we still have to match it with that council money. And so there might be a conversation about what were those other priorities that were also underfunded that are available that can be delivered relative to what does Ron want to deliver in terms of that roading space that represents a risk that we need to do and that can be delivered in the time frame. So this is all part of next year's capital works program. So in theory, I mean, we were told by the government there was no money, then we were told there was some money. They changed the rules and said we might be able to get away with no consultation. Now they've come back and said, no, you can't, you have to consult. So it's a very fluid space and extremely difficult to navigate for staff, just the complexity of it and just trying to pull a presentation together that was reasonably easy to understand. This is probably about the fourth iteration that we've sat down and gone through.
Is that how Ron wants to
That was 2022 for the last one. So we will try, but there are other pressures that we're under in terms of costs.
Okay.
I think this is the last slide here.
We got a few more
Oh,
questions.
sorry. Oh, sorry. Yep.
Christian?
Kia ora, thanks for the presentation. My question is about the raised crossing in the Campbell Park. Do you have a date for that?
No, we don't have a date, but I'm planning. Well, we actually do have a date or a period. So we're looking at construction starting in the first half of 26.
Okay.
And we want it all finished by the end of June. In fact, I'd like it finished 1 or 2 months earlier if we can. So the sooner we can get it built, that's what we'll be aiming for.
Okay.
First half of 26 calendar year.
Yes,
Yep.
calendar year.
And then the other one is governments come and go, and hopefully will continue to do so. So how would a decision like council talk about a 30k limit for Paikakariki, could that be held over until the rules change to allow that, with that decision already having been made?
Well, under the current rule, we can't change it. But if the legislation changes, then we can obviously revisit it.
But we have to reconsult on that again. So we can't. We were hoping we could use the existing consultation to lock in our own plan, but we've been told no, you have to reconsult, and so we would have to reconsult on that proposal as part of another look at the speed limits across the district.
So the short answer is no,
Okay.
unfortunately. Justin?
Yeah, 2 questions. So obviously got one is putting up these signs. The other one is speed humps. What is the difference in speed reduction between signs and putting in humps? Is it? I'm just double checking that they are cost effective.
The hump, we had speeds. In fact, I'll pick on Poplar Ave because I think I can remember that. I'm pretty sure the speed before and after school was still at about 50k, even with the without the variable speed limits. When the variable speed limits went in, that pulled it down by about 10k or so. Quite effective. But that's from about 50 to 40. With the speed humps, you'll be looking, at a comfortable speed of about 25 or so, getting across there. And obviously, if you go faster than that, because it's all done on comfort, so the speed humps are more effective and they're 24/7, but they cost a lot more. Yeah. So that's the raised platform, and then we have the speed humps, which I've estimated about $12,000 are very effective as well. They're a lot cheaper, and that's an option, maybe, shall we say, for the future as well.
Okay. So the other thing that I just wanted to touch on, so you talked about your plan. So I take it this lump of money has to be spent solely on in the speed area, as opposed to other areas of transport where there may not necessarily be the funding, like the Te Horo mitigation flooding
Yeah.
area.
That's for you.
Yes,
Okay.
but we're looking at, so again, the government introduced a resilience, so again, we were declined funding originally. Government came back and said, oh, and by the way, we've got some other money you might want to apply for in the resilience area. So there's an opportunity to look for that funding, so we're doing that at the moment. So for specifically for the Te Horo.
Thank you.
Liz?
Oh, yeah, in terms of those items that were deferred to 2730, I recall some conversation around prioritising those sooner rather than later. So, like, if we do get an opportunity, as you say, if there's some money available, if you underspend, we can work through those. So is that going to be just done as part of your capital expenditure program?
Yeah, I think
Yeah.
that we did talk about that. Yeah, so certainly we mentioned that in terms of Te Horo down there as well, in terms of that speed. So yes, we will have an indicative program. We can do that and say, look, well,
So
here's
you'll
1 to
prioritise. So
15.
There's
Yeah,
there'd be a first cab off the rank kind
That's
of thing
right.
if there's money available.
we'd go straight to
yeah.
that. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
Okay, cool. Now we can do the last slide.
Yep, well, you've probably all read it, so, but anyway, basically.
I
I'm
haven't.
I'm hoping, but depending on what happens today, that this month we'll submit the alternative method to the NZTA. I think it'll be end of this month, probably very early in March. And NZTA will be really good, so I'll be very surprised if they take longer than a month to respond, and hopefully when they do respond, they say yes. And what that will mean is we can then start engaging with people who are going to do the consultation, especially for the variable speed limits, because we want to know that they're consulting on something that's been certified by the agency. The speed hump design, that is not so dependent. We're going to probably get that underway anyway, or at least get the survey done until we've heard from the NZTA. Once we've heard that, we can get straight into design. So we are in a lot better position than we were 12, 18 months ago. So the first half of 2025, we'll do our targeted consultation with the consultant, probably the same one as last time, and package 2, which is the road safety platforms, same consultant as last time. They did a very good job. And then, so the design will be commencing as well, package 1 and package 2, and we'll also got the construction of T1 Road pedestrian refuge, which also includes intersection improvements at Nemo Street West. All the letters to the residents.
Nemo
today.
Avenue.
Yep.
We're doing both.
Yep.
Do both.
We're doing both. And I've also got hold of the equestrian centre as well. And then late 25, early 26, you see I've given myself a little bit of room to manoeuvre. I'm hoping we can get package 1 installed, which is a variable speed limits, and then the first half of 26, we hopefully can get construction underway nice and early, so we're not finishing in June, and we can get all of that in, and then we'll be picking a date later on in this year when we actually go live, and then we'll do our normal publicity as well, and we'll liaise with the police and the schools and everyone, and do our monitoring, and then we will start getting ready for the next plan. And that is my last slide.
Thank you. You've worked through that. It's such a challenging set of kind of movable feast that you've been served up, and you've navigated it and presented us with something relatively comprehensible. So thank you, and really sensible too. It's been really hard, that we've gone through all this consultation, come up with a plan, had the rug pulled from under our feet, working out how to navigate that and move forward and do as much as we can in a sensible way. It hasn't been easy, so thank you. Thank you. Yeah. You seem calm when you come in here anyway.
I'm trying to feel I'm organised. One thing I think through all of this, we're really well set up for the next plan, because I've written half of the plan which I showed you last time, which was a bit early. So half of that's written, and we've got some really good feedback from the community. So I've got some ideas for your consideration to add to the existing priorities. But I think the next time, the community will be a lot more engaged because they'll understand how the process will be. We're better organised, so it should flow a lot better next time.
Great. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thanks, everybody. It's been a really productive day. And thanks for staying on late. I really appreciate it.
Very good. Slow and steady, we're slow down.